Good evening. I'd like to call to order the December 11th council meeting. And if, Mr. Clerk, if you'd read the roll.
Certainly. Councilmember Brown.
Present.
Councilmember Garza.
Here.
Councilmember Hussein.
Here.
Councilmember Jackson. Councilmember Cost.
Here.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Present.
Councilmember Spitzley. Councilmember Wood.
Here.
There are 6 members present, a quorum. Councilmembers Jackson and Spitzley are not present.
Okay, at this time, we have the meditation and Pledge of Allegiance. Is there anyone that someone would like us to remember at this time? Vice President Garza.
Thank you, Council President. I would like to keep the family of John Morales Jr. and Stephen Romero in our thoughts and prayers. They both passed on December 1st. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that anyone would like us to remember at this time? Seeing none, if we could please rise. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Did I send you the minutes? Okay. All right. I don't believe we have the proceedings for approval tonight, so we are to special ceremonies and presentations. We have a tribute in recognition of Council President Carol Wood.
Vice President, I guess I have to do this. Vice President Garza.
Thank you, Council President. So I'm gonna highlight a few of these so we don't stay here for another hour. Not that it's not deserving of your service here in the city. So, in November of 1999, Carol Wood was elected to serve the city of Lansing. Carol has been a member of the community long before being elected to Lansing City Council, making the decision to run for elected office based on her ability to help neighborhoods. Prior to being elected at-large city council member, Carol worked alongside her mother, Ruth Hallman, making a difference in the Lansing community, which involved changes in the housing code. During her 23 years of service as council member of the city of Lansing, residents and businesses, Council Member Wood served on the Committee of Public Service for 19 years. Served as the committee chairperson in addition. Carol served as committee chairperson of the Committee on Ways and Means for 17 years, Committee on Personnel for 12 years, ad hoc on Committee on Diversity and Inclusion for 4 years, ad hoc on Committee on Rental and Housing Conditions for 4 years, and Committee on Development and Planning for 3 years, and ad hoc Committee on Supplier Diversity for 3 years. Carol is a strong advocate for the retirees of the city of Lansing and spent 18 of her 23 years on council advocating for them by serving on the Employees Retirement Board and the Police and Fire Retirement Board. First elected as council president in 2003 by her fellow council members, Councilmember Wood was again elected as council president in 2013, 2018, and 2019, and in her final year as an elected official served as president in 2023. She was elected by her peers as City Council Vice President in 2017 and 22, leading to serve in council leadership for 7 years of the years she served on council. Either a member of council or sitting in a role on a committee, Carol was involved in many aspects of government that brought change to the city. This included establishment of the first Diversity and Inclusion Committee, acting on the funding of grants for life-saving equipment for the Lansing Fire Department and Lansing Police Department, Homeland Security grants, Sobriety Court and Justice Assistant grants, Stop Violence Against Women, and VOCA Care grants, just to name a few. Carol was the constant beacon of hope for any resident that needed her, whether she provided assistance, information, direction, or just an ear and a shoulder that the residents of the city of Lansing could always call her anytime and feel that that they were heard. So now therefore be it resolved that the Lansing City Council recognizes Carol Wood for her 23 years of service to the residents of the city of Lansing. We greatly appreciate your dedication of the Lansing community and wish her continued success in her next endeavors. With that, I would pass the resolution.
Thank you. So I guess I'm supposed to ask for a vote. With that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I want to thank you so much for the recognition and for the ability to serve the community and to serve Lansing. I have family in the audience. I have my niece and my great nephew. If you'd stand, there they are. And then at home, I have my brother and my sister-in-law that's watching from at home. Part of what brought me to this dais was my mother and the work that she did for our neighborhoods and the voice that she was. And often my mom would say, you know, that's Carol Wood, and I'm so proud of her. She's my daughter. And tonight I can say Ruth Hallman was my mother, and I'm very proud of her. She, because of the lessons she taught me, I am who I am today. So with that, I just want to thank you all for this tribute and the ability to serve you for the years that I have served you. Thank you. Very kind of you, thank you. Okay, I saw some hands. Okay, Councilmember Spatafor.
You're not getting off that easy, Councilmember Wood. No, I want to thank you. Growing up in the area, everyone knew your name. Whether we were involved in local politics or not, we knew Carol Wood. In some cases, Carol Woods, depending on who you're talking.
Yes.
But when I came to City Council from the school board, I was sure I knew everything, and you quickly disabused me of that notion. And I appreciate those lessons over the time that I've sat in this chair for 6 years. You were just such a valuable resource for me when I took over as president of this body through a pandemic. We were making it up as we went, and I relied on you for so much advice. And I know everyone in this chamber comes to you for historical information, for a listening ear, and to be told when they're wrong. And I appreciate every one of those instances. We didn't always see eye to eye, and we certainly didn't agree on every single issue, but we were always able to have a conversation and learn from each other, and I learned a lot from you over the last 6 years, and I appreciate that. And I thank you for more than 24 years of service to this city, but 24 years of service to the City Council, and I look forward to seeing what trouble you cause next. So thank you.
Hey, thank you. Vice President Garza.
Thank you, Council President. I will keep it short. Councilwoman, Council President Wood, it's been my honor to serve with you. It's been my honor to sit next to you. I'm going to miss that. You're truly a mentor to me. I was really intimidated when I first met this woman. She was, I just knew that she always knew what she was talking about. There was no getting around anything, not that I was trying to get around anything, but I just, I'm really gonna miss you. I mean, don't change the cell phone. I'll help pay the bill if I have to, because I know that's a lot of knowledge that we're gonna be missing off council, but I'm very proud to serve next to you, Carol, and we're gonna miss you. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Hussein.
So, folks should know that I was still begging Carol tonight to reconsider. Interestingly enough, and Carol knows this, I started off as a pretty big Carol Wood critic, and actually worked against her in one of her election cycles, and how absolutely silly I feel now. What I didn't know, and frankly, I think 90% of Lansing probably doesn't know it necessarily to the degree that I do, is the work that Carol does that's unseen. Carol, in my opinion, is not only the longest serving member, but the hardest working city council person we've ever had in the history of the city. The work that she does behind the curtain, and the credit that other people often receive for the work that she's done, is it's incredible. I mean, it truly is. We talk a lot, as an example, about young people running for council, and I have some of my students here tonight that are actually part of their student council. We talk about civics all the time. We talk about civic participation. And it's exciting when young people get involved and throw their name in the hat. But what Carol has been able to do over the past 24 years is help those folks operationalize their ideas and actually help them, see some of those things come to fruition. One of the things impressed upon me very, very early on in my time with Carol, we actually met with a constituent at Stonecrest. And at that time, I was still kind of filling out Carol and learning from Carol, and met with a resident of Stonecrest. And after talking to this individual, she basically handed me a check and said, "Hey, go pay this now." And I looked at the check and I was blown away, frankly. And I went and quietly paid this individual's rent for the month so that they would have a roof over their head. And I only say that because I know Carol would not want that to be shared. That certainly wasn't the last time that happened. Carol, that's the type of work that Carol does all the time that goes unseen, maybe underappreciated. And Carol, I just, when I say I've been dreading this day for a long time, I truly, truly have been dreading this day for a long time. With that being said, it is bittersweet. I know that you, more than anybody else, has earned a little bit of time. You've earned a little bit of time to focus on family, focus on you, focus on your happiness, because you've done so much for all of us for so long. And so we are all indebted to you. And I just am so incredibly, incredibly happy that you are now a trusted and dear friend. And as I've told you many times, make sure that phone is on, because I'll be calling you and certainly asking questions and getting advice as we move forward. Thanks for all you've done, truly.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Cos.
So, Carol, President Wood, you are the trailblazer when it comes to being involved in your community, getting elected to city council. You were involved in your community. That put that path out there that city council members come on being involved in their community. That was the path that I got to take. I can tell you the night of my first election, the only thing running through my head is I will have 1 year to learn as much as I can under Carol Wood. We're not going to always agree, and you have never asked me to vote any kind of way other than to sit me down and explain your point of view and not belittle my point of view. That is so special to me that I had an opportunity to learn from you for a year. That's just knowledge that you take with you, and it's been a privilege to get that. And it's not only that, people don't see this, but there's a very tender and caring side that comes out. I specifically remember when I came to a meeting that I wasn't going to be at because my dog had been sick and I didn't know if she was hurt. And I walked past your office and you asked me what I was doing here, and I said, well, she's going to be okay. And you were tearing up. I was a train wreck. But you cared enough about the dog. You were texting me the whole time. And that's extra. And that means a lot to me, because you're a friend. You're not just council president or council member Wood. Like everyone has said, I will be calling you because you have information that, I will tell you, we've had a lot of mayors in this city. We've had a lot of leaders in this city. We'll never have another Carol Wood. We will never have someone that has led this city in the way you have. Your word is your bond. You live by that. And, that is an absolute honor to try to carry on that tradition. I live by my word is my bond. And that's something that I'm going to continue to carry. I would also like to mention that you'll no longer be getting emails about what your first ward council member is up to. And And I also would like to share that, I thought that when my grandma endorsed you when you first ran, that was our first intermingling with our families. But you've survived now 3 rounds of the Cost family, including 2 of my dad's brothers, which I recently discovered when I printed your senior yearbook and got you a copy.
Thank you.
So there's a couple costs in there for you.
Okay, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, Councilmember Brown.
Everyone has said so much, but for me, your character, your integrity, your love, your ability to breathe life into our community, encourage all of us and let us know that we have people who care and who are committed, has been the strength that's allowed me to continue on my journey in life, before council, during council, and after council. And so I'm just so appreciative, so humbled that you would share your life sacrifices with me and with everyone else. I've never been so blessed by somebody before. And so thank you. And of course, answer the phone. And, and of course, I will answer my phone if there's anything that I can ever do for you. But I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. Thank you.
Thank you. The mayor has graciously agreed that I can keep my phone number, my city cell number. So that will be transported to another phone, but that will be something that I'm able to, so you'll have the number. So, Mayor Shore.
I'd like to weigh in on the conversation if council members are done. So I don't know, Carol, if you remember the first time we met. It was about-
Yeah, I do.
Do
It
you?
was at Mount Hope School. It had to do with the parking over there.
That's right. I was a citizen, and you were tremendously helpful. I was that person that everyone talks about. I lived across from Mount Hope. We had parking issues. You weighed in. And I was impressed. I'll never forget. I emailed all 4 at-larges and my ward rep, and you were the only one who responded. And again, I've never forgotten that. And then when I decided to run for county commission, I met with 2 people. I met with Dave Hollister and you. And we met at the Radisson, at the corner table, at the Carol Wood table. I was told, when you agreed to meet with me, I was told it was the Carol Wood table. And you want to talk about Councilman Garza, you want to talk about intimidated. I'm 26 years old, and I'm meeting with Carol Wood. And you were gracious. You taught me kind of what's what and what to know in the city. You talked to me about the county commission. You talked to me about the city council. You talked to me about a lot of things. And again, I haven't forgotten that meeting, and I haven't forgotten your response when I was a frustrated citizen. And that's a really good memory that you remember that. You've been a teacher to generations of leaders. Everything that everyone has said is very true, how you've helped, but you've been a teacher to a generation of leaders. You helped me when I was in the county commission on things going on in the city that I needed to know about. You helped me when I was a state rep. I got emails from you, hey, this area needs to be mowed on South MLK, that we're getting complaints, and again, it was very, very helpful. Hearing about what was going on in the neighborhoods and what was going on at the city, and then certainly as mayor, we have had people ask when I first got elected, how are you going to deal with Carol Wood? And I was very honest. Carol is someone who I can have great conversation with. We don't always agree, but we can get together and we can compromise. And I think that's one of your strengths that people may not always know. But you're someone who, when you got an issue, you pick up the phone and you call, and we have a conversation and we figure something out. And we've done that over and over again. So I want to thank you. I think you have forgotten more than most people will ever know when it comes to the city. You continually teach me, and I appreciate it. And I wrote this down before you even said it, but I believe that your mom is up in heaven somewhere smiling, looking down on you and smiling at the great job that you've done for our city and the imprint that you've left on this city. It's an honor. It's a testament to her teaching of you that you could pass on that knowledge to the rest of us. So I thank you.
Thank you. Okay, yes.
I think the mayor got one thing wrong. I don't think you've forgotten more than anybody ever knew, because I don't think you ever forget anything. I think the amount of knowledge that will walk out the door when you walk out of this building is a little bit overwhelming. So to think about almost a quarter century in elected office, and when you add the community service that you did before that, it goes well beyond that. It leaves me a little bit speechless, the amount of time and energy you've put into this community. We have some parallels in that. I lost my first election for city council in the 1st Ward.
Yeah.
Parallel to your 4th Ward.
Yeah.
But you have been such a great representative of all the citizens of this city, and you represent everyone equally and fairly, and I appreciate the work that you have done to make this a better community. You really have. I'll have more to say at another time. But you leave me. I'm going to be now the senior elected official for the city of Lansing, and those are big shoes to fill. So again, as I'm sitting here, I have a spreadsheet of all the people who have ever served as elected officials for the city of Lansing, and your name obviously is here so many times, and all the people that have come and gone, and some of them have not made much of an impact, but you truly have. You have really touched this city, and we are better for it. So thank you for your service.
Thank you. Okay, meeting adjourned. Oh. Oh, thank you all. I really appreciate it. So that takes us into
Comments by council members and the city clerk.
council member comments. Okay, Councilmember Hussein.
Yeah, so just a few. I wanted to first thank everybody that came out to our holiday in the square last Friday. It was, just a tremendous celebration of the community. Particularly, I wanted to thank Jasmine Anderson as well as Claire Healy, who are our event co-chairs. I thought they did an outstanding job. This was our 4th holiday in the square, and it was by far the biggest, the best attended. And so again, I go back to the phrase celebration of the community, but it truly was. I also want to thank our swag development specialist that's in the audience, Paul Anderson, who does so much kind of behind the curtains to make sure that all of these things are organized and timelines are met, objectives are met, people show up. And to that end, we want to thank the Lansing Police Department. We want to thank the Lansing Fire Department. We want to thank our dance team that was on hand. They were incredible. All the folks that came out to decorate and set up. We had volunteers from mostly from Southwest Lansing, but as far away as MSU. And so thank you to everybody that was there. We certainly appreciate that. Also, I wanted to give a quick shout out to a few of my students that are actually in the gallery tonight. How incredibly fitting. So this is actually the Waverly Middle School Student Council, led up by student advisor, teacher advisor, Mr. Kevin Casel, who was actually my social studies colleague over at the middle school. But as we went through, the discussion on Carol and her service, I thought how fitting to have some of our youngest citizens that are stepping up into leadership be able to watch as one of the best that's ever done it. People, I promise you, the best that's ever done it bids farewell in terms of elected office. Certainly, we know she will continue to serve her community. But so what a tremendous, I think, opportunity for them to witness that. But again, incredible group doing a lot across Waverly Middle School to promote leadership and advocacy. We certainly appreciate that you guys are out here, kind of taking in the proceedings. Also wanted to, as always, thank council staff. This is our last meeting. And so I wanted to thank Sherry Boat for everything she does as our office manager, Renee Richmond as our administrative administrative assistant. I wanted to thank City TV, Public Safety, both our security company as well as the Lansing Police Department. It takes our city clerk, our city attorney's office. It takes a lot to make sure that these meetings run smoothly, that they truly operate as business meetings, that we get business done for the city in advance, the issues that are important to the city. And frankly, so many of you work so hard to make us look good, and we appreciate that. And so with that, just wanted to make sure we said thanks as we close out the year. Thank you.
Other council member comments? Councilmember Cost.
Thank you, President Wood. They don't work that hard to make me look good. I've seen the playbacks. So I wanted to start asking the mayor a question. Are the warming center at Let's, is that currently open now? Yes, it is? Okay, thank you. Secondly, January 6th, because this is our last meeting of the year, I will be having my contact meeting at the Allen Neighborhood Center, which is 1611 East Kalamazoo Street. Paul Genevalosi will be there to discuss his 3 projects that he has proposed here in downtown Lansing. That's from 10 to noon, again at the Allen Neighborhood Center. And I also want to thank all of the staff that makes council meetings happen. This is the holiday season, so happy holidays to everyone that is in the audience or at home, but particularly our staff who work incredibly hard to get what we need done. This magic doesn't happen up here without the staff, and I am so grateful for them, and look forward to another year, new year, and different council. So, thank you.
Other council member comments? Seeing none, I just want to take a minute to thank my vice president for working collaboratively with me for this entire year. It's been a pleasure to have you as vice president. And as different council members have indicated, we want to thank the staff that has worked so diligently with us to make sure that when we are up here on the dais that we're doing the work and we have the information and the things in front of us to make sure that we're doing it correctly. I want to thank our internal auditor, Emily, and Sherry Boak, our office manager, and Renee Richmond. Again, they are the front lines that people see and talk to long before they get to council members, and we do appreciate that work. We appreciate the rest of you that are part of making sure that the council meetings run smoothly as well, and so thank you. With that, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, President Wood. So before the council meets again, there are several things that will be happening with the presidential primary. Voters who are on the permanent mail ballot list for the presidential primary, you do have to select whether you want a Democratic ballot or a Republican ballot. So we will be mailing out a presidential primary ballot selection form for you to complete to select that. We're hoping that the state Secretary of State also puts that sign up online, and if they do, we will email out a sign up for that as well. But you do have to make a selection of which party ballot you want. For other voters, you will be getting an absentee ballot application. If you care to return that to get an absentee ballot, remember we do have 3 ways of voting now here in Michigan. You can vote at home, you can vote early, and we will have 9 days of early voting in February, or you can vote election day. Also, I want to make sure that folks know that my election unit at 2500 South Washington has been closed. New public safety facility will be going in there, and before the building gets torn down, there has to be some asbestos and other remediation. So we are completely out of there. We are now at the former Rio Elementary School at 1221 Rio Road, so come and see us there. We will have all the same services that we had at South Washington at the Rio location, so I look forward to greeting you all there. I'm in the principal's office, so I get to pretend I'm a principal. And one more note, as folks are probably aware, especially if you're watching this, we do have the Charter Commission election coming up in May, and the deadline to file for that is in January. I believe it's the 23rd at 4 p.m. And so if you wish to be a candidate for that, you still have plenty of time to contact my office and complete the necessary paperwork. And with that, we are to community event announcements. If there's anyone in the audience with a community event, we'll give you up to 1 minute to tell us the details.
This Friday from 12 to 2 at the Cemetery Courtesy Office, we will be celebrating the 4th year of the volunteers there serving as community ambassadors, cemetery ambassadors to the public. It's an open house. We'll be celebrating the 4th birthday as well as holding the Volunteer Appreciation Christmas Party. So the mayor, the council, the park board, public, you're all invited to come. Again, that's this Friday from 12 to 2 at the Cemetery Courtesy Office across the street from Mount Hope Cemetery. Hope to see you there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other community events?
So on New Year's Eve, there's going to be I know this isn't really technically Lansing's event, but it is within the state of Michigan. It's the Belle Isle 5K run on New Year's Eve at about, I think, 4 o'clock p.m., if I'm not mistaken. 3 or 4, I think, is when it's held. It's a 5K run that is held at Belle Isle like every New Year's Eve. I think your bibs will be probably handed to you if you don't get them in the mail. Typically, we give them at the old casino, so I hope to see other people there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other community events? All right, moving on then. If you wish to speak at public comment on legislative matters, we'll give you about another minute to get up and sign in on a blue form with Evelyn in the back. The public hearing item 3 is eligible, as well as items 4 through 26 on the agenda. So items 3 through 26 are eligible. And by the way, I do want to take a moment and thank Evelyn, who has been with us for these past several months. Tonight is, as it's the end of the term, it's the end of her internship with us. So thank you, Evelyn, for your time with us.
And item 18, even though you can speak on it, has been pulled from the agenda.
Okay, and we are to the mayor's comments.
Mayor Shore.
Thank you, Madam President. Councilman Collett, you had said, is the warming center open now? I thought you meant today, but I think it opens at 9 p.m. Did you mean today, or did you mean like, okay. Yeah, when you said now, I thought, well, it's not 9 yet, so, but, okay, yes. So yes, as long as we're on the same page. Wanted to wish a few congratulations to Old Town, who did Krampusnacht, which apparently had several thousand people there to see the Krampus show up, which I wasn't able to make it. I apologize. I had a migraine, but we did a proclamation. It sounded like it was a very fun event, so we'll look forward to that next year. To the Latino Christmas Symposium, which was over at the View, which was awesome, very well attended. I want to welcome, for those who haven't, I think he's called all of you, Raleigh Van Fossen is now on board as our new EDP director. So if you haven't talked to him, please have a conversation with Raleigh. He's looking to talk to council members, and certainly he knows a lot about the community. I wanted to report some good news. This afternoon we swore in 17 new police officers, which is one of our bigger classes, so that's good news. You know, we've been pushing to hire, and we have a great new contract and 17 new officers. They were bright-eyed and excited, so that's good news. Not to be outdone, our firefighters are also hiring, and that is open till the end of the month. So if there are any firefighters out there that want to switch over and come work in the city of Lansing, at the end of January, we're going to have 10 new firefighters on board and another 15 in EMT training. So we're moving on 25 new firefighters, but we'll continue to be hiring until the end of the month. So we certainly would love to see anyone, especially if you have the EMT and firefighter 1 and 2 credentials and paramedic. We want you, so please sign up. I want to congratulate the Lansing School District. Their enrollment is up for the first time in 30 years, and their school index is up 66%. So as a proud Lansing Schools dad, I am really excited that our school district is on the right track. I want to thank the superintendent. I want to thank our school board, all of our Lansing Schools teachers and staff for what they do for our kids. It's really exciting to see everything going on there. I wanted to address, for those who have seen it, there was an editorial in the Detroit Free Press this morning. I was not happy to see it, and I think a lot of people were not. It was not very positive to Lansing. Now, my understanding now is that it was tongue-in-cheek and supposed to be kind of a joke, but I did not see that as a joke. I saw it as some very cheap shots against our city, even if it was meant to be tongue-in-cheek. I want to thank Graham Couch, who immediately this afternoon, has put out a response. We have a response going out tomorrow in the Free Press. I just thought it was in incredibly poor taste. So I'm sure you've read it. If you did, or if you haven't, read it. And if you did, we are certainly indicating that it's not only false, but very false. So just know that I will have a response tomorrow. I certainly welcome council members. I know that the Chamber and LEAP and the CVB and a variety of others. And again, thank you to Graham Couch, who hours after it came out responded as well. Again, I'm not going to be too harsh because I understand it's tongue-in-cheek, but again, it's easy to take shots, even joking, but it was in poor taste. And then finally, I do want to wish everybody a very happy holiday. I know this is the last council meeting of the year, so whether you are, for whatever your faith or whatever your celebration, I want to wish everybody a very happy holiday and a safe end of the year. Oh, and I'm sorry, I forgot. We also have our mobile food pantry coming up. So for all those, you always remind me. This is another thing. Councilwoman Wood always reminds me. Our mobile food pantry is Saturday, December 16th from 9 to 11 a.m. at Lansing Catholic High School on Marshall Street. So please spread the word for those in need. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
Okay. As I indicated, public comment is on items 4 through 26 on the agenda, as well as the public hearing, the noise special permit for the CSO 15 project.
Councilmember Spatafor.
So I'm actually going to take that. I chaired that meeting in Councilman Spatafor's absence. In any event, the public hearing that we're speaking to deals with a noise special permit for Levitt and Stark Excavating to allow for CSO work. This is the 15015 South project. As folks may recall, the actual original request came through, and it was actually a 3-year request because the project is it should take place through construction seasons 2024, 2025, and 2026. We kind of reduced the request down to a year at a time. We wanted an opportunity to take a look at this on an annual basis. We wanted to be able to consider public input before actually issuing noise waivers for any respective construction season. So in any event, the noise waiver that is in front of us for consideration at the next council meeting would grant authority from March 2024 to December 2024. And of course, this is for work on Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
All right. First, want to indicate that we do have some written communications on the public hearing. We have communication from Jana Nickel and Diana Evans, two separate communications opposing the noise, the waiver, and one from Marcy Alling in support of the noise special permit. And with that, Carol Rawl, followed by Deb Mulcahy, are here to speak tonight.
Thank you. Carol, best wishes.
Thank you.
I'm Carol Rawl, and I live on Shiawassee. I've been in our house over 40 years. I love our neighborhood, but I'm very leery of this request for a noise permit because I guess I'm a little suspicious of what it would involve. I have big top loader, front loaders going down my street several times now because they're going all the way over a mile past MLK to this god-awful staging area on Verlinden. And it just seemed bad planning or something that it would be such a big deal. I don't know why how it was planned to do that, but I'm sure it's for their convenience. And of course I support the CSO project, but I'm just suspicious of the planning, how it affects the neighborhood. In addition, we have across from Harry's Bar, we have some fossil fuel substation that the Consumers Energy put in, I guess, and we were unaware of that. So it makes me wonder what's happening to my beautiful residential area. And so I don't know that these reasons given for the permit are that sound. I would just expect that the decision makers would really take a look at it and see if it's necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you. Next is Deb Mulcahy, followed by Daniel K. Arnold.
Good evening, council members. Deborah Mulcahy. I live on South Genesee Drive. A little confused. I heard Adam speak tonight about 24, 25, 26. We were always told this was a 23, 24, 25 project. Just like the Rawls, we're very excited to finally have the CSO project done after 35 years. A bit confused. In July, we wrote communication to you folks and objected to it and said why. In August, we wrote communication again to you folks and objected and said why. And here I get the same bloody kind of postcard that I got in July, says the same thing, which is nothing. So I spoke with Mark, Mr. Jones from the city, very helpful, seemed very knowledgeable, and I learned from him that the two reasons for doing this project extension with the noise, extending the noise opportunities, is two reasons. One, because of the groundwater contamination is worse than they thought at Butler and West Saginaw, and two, to make it easier for construction activities on Martin Luther King for reducing traffic problems. I think those are all commendable issues. However, in this yellow notice that I received, and this is your public notice, I understand, it says during the construction year 2024, just 2024. I went online, I looked, I spoke to Mr. Jones, and I said, why don't you put this stuff online? We suggested this in July and August. Put this online so everybody has it and everybody doesn't have to call you. Oh, that's a good idea. Still not online as of last night when I looked at it. If it was there, I missed it, sorry. But I did find your resolution. And in your resolution, it talks about 2024 and 2025. That is not in your public notice. And it also gives 3 reasons why this waiver is needed. Reduce the amount of time local access for property owners is impacted. Allow the contractor the ability to work some Saturdays when necessary for completion of important work activities and keep the project on schedule based on rain days. Folks, I don't know where you've ever been in the world, but everywhere in Michigan, as an example in Lansing, we make the statement, if you don't like the weather, you wait a minute, or if it's 5 minutes, because it changes. Rain delays, this is a new one. Completion of important work activities, isn't it all important? And and reduce the amount of time for local access for property owners is impacted. We agree that's important. I was told they were starting west of MLK by Alex, who just retired in October, come 2024. Mr. Jones said, no, they're not doing that then. They're doing MLK. There's been no public communication. The Public Service Department hired a person to give this information out, and it's not happening. So I thank you, and I would like you to keep those points in mind. And one other thing I'd like to say to Carol, you've made your mom proud. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Daniel K. Arnold, followed by Luna Brown.
Hello, this is Daniel Arnold. I'm coming on a legislative matter just to be really grateful for the service of President Carol Wood these years. Just over the years she's just been there. I met with her before, and just everybody had wonderful things to say about you, Carol. Just everybody here across the board. Where it's just I like to serve the community, but you do things that I can't do. And I'm just so thankful that you served all these years. Congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Luna Brown, followed by Kelsey Brienne.
Hi, I'd like to speak on item 18, which was stricken from the agenda. But so yes, I definitely support having a rule to allow Zoom access to council meetings. I think it's an obvious thing we need, and it's one of the biggest steps you can take towards increasing accessibility to these meetings, especially for the disabled. But I do not agree with the 4-hour requirement for submitting comments before the meeting. The primary reason I remember being cited as to why this was included is to prevent trolling, but trolls can write a fake statement pretty easily if they want. It's not really going to stop that problem. We could troll you in person if we wanted. It's not that hard to organize, and if people want to troll you, they're going to troll you. 4-hour window is not going to fix that problem. So get rid of it. It just creates more barriers to actual access to the meetings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Kelsey Brienne, followed by Nicholas Zandy.
Hi, I'm just here to echo the same sentiments about the 4-hour rule with the Zoom access. I'm glad that we are finally getting the Zoom access, though we fought pretty hard for that. I remember the last time I was on Zoom access was talking about the murder of Anthony Helon 3 years ago, and I hope that by having this access, more people are able to join these meetings to be civically engaged. So I appreciate y'all, and I think it'll be a good thing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Nicholas Zandy, followed by Willie Hobbs.
So, I'm here to speak about issue number 18, which has unfortunately been struck from the agenda. Again, delay, delay, delay is, I guess, going to be the unofficial motto for the city of Lansing, I guess. I just want to state my thoughts on virtual meetings. I think considering that there are still people like me who still worry about the COVID-19 virus, as well as people who are, I don't know, disabled, as I like to say, who probably cannot access meetings like this in person. I mean, this really should just not wait, okay? This is something that the city should have done, like, by now, like, during the pandemic, or something like that. Because just delaying is just not a way you should be doing things. As for my opinion on the 4-hour troll thing nonsense, it's like, why does that need to be implemented? Like, I could troll people at the city council meetings a few times or something. I don't know if I don't know if I would recommend doing that, but still, how is that supposed to like prevent trolling exactly? It just doesn't really make any sense. And considering, and again with the whole delaying thing, I mean, yeah, there are still parts that might need to be worked out, but continuously delaying it is just really annoying and has again just become quite the routine for the city of Lansing. Wonder why acts so repetitive several times is kind of autistic, so at times I have problems with my repetition, so voice is not cooperating with me. In that case, it's just this thing needs to be passed. It just cannot be continuously delayed, especially not until a new council is sworn in. And that's all I need to say, and I yield the last 25 seconds of my time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Willie Hobbs.
Hello, everybody. My name is Willie Hobbs, and I live 1217 Marquette. And right now I'm in Wood. I come down here. They say goodbye to you. And thank for everything that you did for the city. A lot of people been through here. John Pollard, O'Ham, all of us. I've been down here. A lot of them guys went off and left me, but I'm gonna stand up and I'm gonna fight for right, as long as God keep breath in me. So you keep on being happy and enjoy your life and doing what you think is right for folks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we are to the referral of the public hearing, item 3, the noise special permit.
And that'll go back to city operations. Councilmember Spatafor.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify one thing that was brought up during the public hearing. I think Councilmember Hussein said it all absolutely 100% correct. The waiver was applied for 24, 25, and 26, but we're only granting the 24 construction year. I know you said that, but I think there was some confusion in public comment. So the resolution has all the years in it, but the operational clause is only granting the waiver for 1 year so that the company has to come back the next 2 cycles and do the process again for the waiver. So just for the folks that spoke on that, Adam said it correctly, but I think there was a little bit of confusion about it because all dates are in the resolution. So wanted to put that on the record.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we are to the consent agenda.
Vice President Garza.
Thank you, Council President. So I'd move the consent agenda with the following items. A tribute in recognition to the creation of Athena Hall of Fame at the Lansing Center. Appointment of Rochelle Franklin as the 3rd Ward member of the Board of Ethics for a term to expire June 30th, 2027. Traffic control order number 23 through 26 to install a yield sign on Bleisner Street at the intersection of Pleasant Avenue. Traffic control order number 23 through 25 to install stop signs at the Winston Avenue at Thomas Street. Traffic control order numbers 22 through 09, 22 through 10, 22-11. Regulate parking along Spencer Street. Traffic control order number 22-12, install a yield sign on Chicago Avenue at Daleford Avenue. Traffic control number 22-83, regulate parking along 1600 block of East Kalamazoo Street. Traffic control number 23-05, install a yield sign at Motor Avenue and Denora Street. Traffic control order number 23-06 to regulate parking along Gary Avenue. Traffic control number 23-18 to install a stop sign on Elizabeth Street and at Foster Avenue. Traffic control number 23-23 to regulate parking along 100 West Michigan Avenue. Traffic control order number 23-24 to install stop signs at Alpine Drive at Brighton Drive and on Tennyson Lane at Brighton Drive. And last, we have grant acceptance DWI Sobriety Court Grant.
All right, we have a motion for the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Okay, we are to resolutions for action. We have item 19, make safe or demolish.
Councilmember Hussein.
Sure. So what's before you is a resolution that pertains to an order to make safe or demolish to the owners of 619 West Mount Hope Avenue. The owners of record are Daniel J. and Evelyn Dehane. The SEV is $44,300, and the estimated cost of repairs was $53,621. As this is a fire damaged property, if passed, this will be a 30-day make safe or demolish. We actually had a show cause hearing on this on October 30th. The matter was referred back to public safety, and it stalled out a little bit. We had the owners on hand. They discussed the fact that they were in the middle of selling this particular property. Mr. Twenter was actually at that particular meeting, stated in fact that he was a certified builder looking to close on the property. I believe it was November 18th. So the issue was actually tabled. That being said, we took this back up on December 15th at our public safety meeting. And at that point, Mr. Twenter, had actually sent correspondence not only to our offices, but also the Office of Code Compliance, stating that he was no longer interested in purchasing this particular property. So as part of our December 5th public safety meeting, we actually had a conversation with Mr. Walter Allen, who is our Code Compliance Manager. And of course, we asked, if any permits have been pulled, if any financial wherewithal had been demonstrated, or if there was a timeline that had been presented that was palatable to his office. He stated no in terms of all three questions. And so with that, we actually moved this unanimously through committee. So with that, I would move the resolution.
All right, we have a motion on the resolution. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Okay, item 20, the sewage disposal system bonds.
Vice President Garza.
Thank you, Council President. So that is the issuance of the sewage disposal system revenue bonds for the CSO program, not to exceed $13 million. 2024, that is a sewer revolving fund. Improvements is estimated to not be less than 30 years. With that, I would move the resolution.
I have a motion on the resolution. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Okay, item 21, objecting to the transfer of taxes.
Councilmember Brown.
Thank you. We have a setting for the public hearing for the rezoning of 512 East Miller Road.
We're on the objection of transfer of unsold tax properties this first.
Oh, I didn't see myself down here. So the objection to the transfer of the unsold tax reverted properties from Ingham County Treasurer to the City of Lansing. And basically that's done every year that we have to do by the end of the year.
So you're moving the resolution?
Yes, I'll move the resolution.
Okay, we have a motion on the resolution. And as Councilmember Brown explained, these are tax reverted properties that weren't sold that are come back to the city unless we deny them, and then they go back to the county and are part of the Ingham County Land Bank. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Councilmember Brown, now you're to the setting of a public hearing.
Thank you, sorry. So setting for public hearing of establishment of the NEZ zone, the Neighborhood Enterprise Zone District for the Wheel District. And basically over the last couple of months, we've expanded the NEZ zone, and now this development is coming to make this an actual district called the Wheel District for their proposed development. So this.
Okay, and the public hearing is for?
I do not have that in front of me. January 8th.
It's January 8th? Okay, and the public hearing is for January 8th. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Item 23, a claim appeal for Willie Hobbs.
And Councilmember Hussein.
Sure. So this is a claim appeal claim number 1986 for Willie Hobbs. This is for $3,622 in code enforcement fees, 1217 Marquette Street. Property was actually cited for a trash violation on March 6th of 2023. The compliance due date was established as, for March 13th, 2023. Premise officer rechecked the property on March 14th. The premise was still in violation and was submitted to the trash contractor to abate. Our trash contractor arrived on site March 21st. Property was still in violation as noted in the pictures, and the trash issue was abated. Our claims review committee took a look at this. They did deny this claim in full. We took it through 2 meetings in operations. We tabled it so that there was some extra correspondence and evidence that was submitted on behalf of the claimant. So we took a look at this again in late November, and at the end of the day, we decided that based on all the evidence that we had, that the violations were in fact present. The claimant was notified properly. The abatement did happen. The city did incur costs, and for that reason, we did deny it full. So with that being said, I would move the resolution of denial.
Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you. I cannot support denying Mr. Hobbs' claim because I took some time to talk to Mr. Hobbs and read through his packet of information that he provided to the council that was actually drafted by his attorney, who also did some legal research. And Mr. Hobbs explained, as many people in the neighborhood explained, that Mr. Hobbs has a business of doing yard work, and all the items in his backyard, which has a high privacy fence, although it looks very out of disarray, it was products of his business, including spare tires that he used for various seasons. There's tires that he needs, all the different attachments that he puts on his trailer to do his work. And Mr. Hobbs explained he's been at all the meetings, he explained that this amount is not only not fair to him, and he's been fighting against unfairness his entire life, but it will put him under, and he could be one of the homeless people that'll be walking around because he won't be able to afford that on his tax bill, and he's very worried about that. So I think that they came for one thing, took other things, which Mr. Hobbs had an objection to, and not to mention, he explained he stays part-time in Chicago, so when the notice came, he may have been in Chicago, and he takes care of his adult son with special needs, who is a person who put the furniture outside without Mr. Hobbs' permission, and then from there we know what happened. They came in and they took everything else a part of his business, and it put him back a lot. So I can't support that amount. I would make a amendment to switch the amount to $200, and that's all I could support.
Okay, at this point, we first have a motion on the table before I consider your motion. I did see Councilmember Hussein's hand, so I'll let him speak, and then unless he believes that's a friendly motion, we'll vote on the motion.
Yeah. So I just wanted to state very quickly, although I am certainly sympathetic to Mr. Hobbs' financial situation, it should be noted that that in itself is a violation of our zoning code. We simply cannot have every person that owns a business using their property, their personal property, their homestead property as essentially a dumping site. Based on the pictures, based on the evidence, based on the invoices, the list goes on. It was clear that he was operating some sort of dump site for the business. That has a detrimental impact, obviously, on his neighbors, on their property values, on their quality of life, and beyond that, it had gotten to a point where it really looked as a health and safety issue. So with that being said, and the other piece is that the notifications, there was some challenge on whether or not the notifications were sent in a correct manner. They were. The timeline was followed with fidelity. And again, I want to remind people that when we go out there and we abate this type of thing, we pay the contractor with tax dollars that the citizens of the city actually provide to us. And what we are trying to do is go out and recoup those tax dollars so that we aren't running a de facto trash cleanup service for people. Again, very sympathetic to Mr. Hobbs and his financial situation. We did discuss the idea of reaching out to Treasury and potentially setting up a payment plan of sorts, one that is agreeable with regard to all parties. But with that said, I simply don't see a reason not to support the denial. Thank you.
Okay, what we have before us is a motion by Councilmember Jackson to amend the resolution that we're considering to the amount of $200. So all those in favor of the amendment say aye. All those opposed say no. No. Okay. With that, we are back to the original resolution before us. Are there any other comments on this resolution? Seeing none, all those in support say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, so the motion passes. And Mr. Hobbs' next recourse on this is he can take this to circuit court. He does have another recourse. Thank you.
Okay, we are to reports from council committees. We have a report from the Committee on Public Safety Housing Update.
And that would be Councilmember Hussein.
Sure. So you actually have materials in your council materials folder. I believe it is item 25. Just make sure. Is it 24? Yep. So it's actually 24. I don't intend to go through, obviously, the entire report. This is our third report out of committee. If you recall, March 22nd of this year, we had an unfortunate board up and red tag process take place over at, I believe it was 222 West Holmes, and that was one of the Simtop properties. To make matters worse, the properties that those individuals were relocated to in Simtop's portfolio, those properties were red tagged as well. So in any event, we actually had a special committee of the whole meeting in April. We had a number of questions for a number of departments in terms of processes and how, as an example, this crisis, if you will, had been allowed to get to the point that it had been, because obviously this unearthed a number of other red tags, problematic properties, landlords, and the like. And so we, as a public safety committee, we have periodically been readdressing the issue. Taking a look at questions that had not yet been exhausted in terms of answers provided. And so what you see before you are really the last questions that our committee I would say was looking for, but in some cases still are looking for answers to. So with that being said, I'm just going to highlight a couple. If you look at question number 1, we actually did have economic development and planning in at our December 5th meeting. And the question pertained to the fee study contract. So the question was, we know that the fee study contract was awarded by Manor Casterison. We were told the contract would call for up to 160 hours of work, and the expectation was 2 months of work. We asked where we were at on the study and the release of the information, and the answer was that the fee study is actually ongoing. Economic Development and Planning is expecting a rough draft of the report in 2 weeks. They have not seen anything as of yet, but it was the sheer amount of data, There was another issue too, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but it was also some issues within code, staffing levels, things of that nature that actually created a more protracted process. But of course, we are excited that the report is forthcoming. In terms of the top-down analysis RFP, we did ask about that. They had referenced prior to this meeting consultant fees, scope of work, structure of the RFP, and the like, as reasons that that particular RFP had not been sent out and awarded. In any event, the answer to where are we at with this effort, we were told that the effort is on hold, that the new Economic Development and Planning Director and Deputy Director are exploring next steps. One challenge that they referenced was, again, staffing, code operating at about 65% of staffing level, and we'll talk about that again in a minute. They said that coupled with the reality that there was extra work involved with the fee study, it was essentially determined that it was not the time to move forward with a meaningful, productive process. And so they will be hopefully looking at that again in 2024. With regard to the 21 red tagged houses, so this is question number 4, with initial tag dates ranging from 2003 to 2012. It says that the last we heard was that they were all moving forward. However, the only hard verified numbers we received were 2 in demo and 1 demo completed. We did ask what the current numbers were in terms of in demo, demo completed, permits pulled, and work being conducted. We also asked for addresses for each. The department did provide addresses and the current status of each address at the Public Safety Committee meeting that we held on December 5th. There is a document in your materials that includes not only the relevant 21 red tag properties, but actually all dwellings that are red tagged and considered the most severe and dangerous. So all properties on this particular document, as I understand it, are either being worked on or proceeding through the demo board process. Delays in getting utilities shut off in preparation for demolition was also discussed. We had, at a prior public safety meeting, had representatives from both consumers as well as the Board of Water and Light in to discuss kind of ways to streamline that process. And so we reminded the folks on hand that we believe we have some willing partners with regard to those particular utilities. We actually had our administrative assistant, Renee Richmond, send the contacts that we were able to establish to the respective individuals at the meeting. If you look at question 5, I'm going to talk about this just for a minute because this might result in an ordinance ask next year. Question number, I think it's, again, 5. Have we begun to move red tag properties that don't meet the statutory SEV or estimated cost of repairs threshold, but have sat idle for at least 24 months through the process? Last we knew, law said that there are multiple avenues allowed per by the state, and we were able to proceed on the foregoing. We were told that the city has not engaged in this way. The department and the Office of the City Attorney stated that we have not engaged because the city has not adopted such a standard, what they call a stricter standard. Statute under the building code states that an urban core city may adopt a stricter standard and have the 24-month piece embedded. We currently use the standard of estimated cost of repairs exceeding the SEV. We were told that if we want to adopt a stricter standard, we would have to adopt the standard and create a process to operationalize the standard. So I did connect with law and asked that they begin to work on ordinance changes along with a legal analysis for us to consider next year. And the response was, we'll take a look at it and get going. We're going to move down very quickly to the question regarding the public dashboard of registered rentals. We've gotten a lot of questions on this. The question was, have we had further conversation regarding a public dashboard of registered rentals with valid rental certifications, such as what Grand Rapids has in place? This question actually came forward from Mr. Cost. The answer was that Economic Development and Planning leadership was to meet with IT on December 7th. We have got confirmation that that meeting was held and that it went very well. They are looking at essentially emulating what Grand Rapids has developed and published, which is a list viewable by the public and updated weekly. So again, conversations and work are ongoing. With regard to the question regarding numbers, which obviously folks are always interested in, our current red tag count is 557. Our pink tag count is 227. Our neat team count is at 469. And we have 32 at this point properties that are in the make safe or demolish process. Duration in terms of tagged dwellings continues to decline. The dashboard that was taken off the city's website is again live, and at this point we believe that the numbers are accurate. We did have a substantial cleaning of the list, which was completed prior to publishing. Examples of the work included getting rid of duplicate red tags and properties that were still on the list, although they had been demolished quite some time ago. Oh, and the last one I wanted to discuss, and then again, if you guys have questions, feel free. Second question to the bottom, or to the last, sorry. We have quite a few vacancies in code. What are our current vacancy numbers by position and where are we at in the hiring process? We currently have 3 vacant code positions. We have 1 open premise position, and if folks don't know, we essentially have 10 code districts. We have a position for a floater, we have a lead housing inspector, and then we have a code compliance manager. With regards to premise inspectors, a few years back during a fiscal year, kind of budget process, we actually funded 4 positions so that we could have one for each sector or ward of the city. So we do have, again, the 3 open code positions and the 1 open premise position. We also have 1 code officer that's on FMLA, and then the lead housing inspector position remains open. What we were told is that finding qualified candidates has proven to be a challenge. Just as one example, we did have 7 candidates come through and test for an open code position, and all 7 candidates actually failed that particular test. So ED&P is having conversations in earnest with HR. We're taking a look at how we cast a wider net, taking a look at obviously things such as the testing, making sure that the testing is appropriate, that it still is, that it fits essentially the positions. But they are, again, confident that they will fill those positions hopefully in the near future. So with that said, if there are questions, I'm happy to answer them. And if not, I certainly appreciate my colleagues on council, or in terms of, I should say, the Public Safety Committee, as well as folks from Economic Development and Planning, from Law, from Human Relations and Community Services, the list goes on, that worked with us in earnest to get some answers to the questions that were outstanding from that special committee of the whole meeting earlier in the year. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Councilmember Hussein? Seeing none, then I have a motion to place this on file. We have a motion to place this on file. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Councilmember Hussein.
Okay, then we are to ordinances for introduction. And we have the following ordinance of the City of Lansing, Michigan for amending the Code of Ordinances by providing for the rezoning of property located in the City of Lansing, Michigan, and for the revision of the district maps adopted by Section 1242.02 of the zoning ordinance for property located at Z10 2023 512 East Miller, rezoning from R3 Suburban Detached Residential to SC Suburban Commercial, was introduced by the Committee on Development and Planning, read a first time by its title, and referred to the Committee on Development and Planning.
Councilmember Brown.
Now we are at 24 or 25. Thank you so much. This came before the committee, and from what I understand from the zoning, what they indicated was that when we did the city form-based code, they thought there was a mistake with this particular property because there was a house on the property that it should be residential. And so this is being put before a public hearing to change it back to the original zoning before the form base of commercial.
Okay. And the public hearing is January 8th?
Yes.
Okay.
January 8th.
All right, thank you. We have motion before us. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Mr. Clerk.
Okay, we are to ordinances for passage. We have an ordinance of the City of Lansing, Michigan, providing for the rezoning of parcels of real property located in the City of Lansing, Michigan, and for the revision of the district maps adopted by Section 1242.02 of the Code of Ordinances, Z9 2023 Osband Avenue, parcel number 33010128103098, rezoning from IND2 General Industrial to R6A Urban Detached Residential, is read a second time by its title. The ordinance was reported from the Committee on Development and Planning and is on the order of immediate passage.
Councilmember Brown.
Thank you. This is just to change it to put, the individual wants to put a residential house on the property. The zoning supports it. The neighborhood on the other side of the street is zoned the same way, and a few parcels on the same side of the street as well.
Okay.
So a motion for...
All right, any questions on this? With that, if you could call the roll.
On adoption of the ordinance, Councilmember Brown.
Yes.
Councilmember Garza.
Yes.
Councilmember Hussein.
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson.
Yes.
Councilmember Cost.
Yes.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Yes.
And for the final vote of her final roll call, Councilmember Wood.
Yes.
7 yeas, 0 nays, the ordinance is adopted.
Okay.
And we are to speaker registration for public comment on city government-related matters. That's the yellow sign-in sheet. If you wish to address city council and still have not signed in, please get with Evelyn in the next 1 minute. And in the meantime, we're to reports of officers, boards, and commissions.
Vice President Garza.
Thank you, Council President. I move that all items be considered as being read in full and the proper referrals be made by our president.
We have a motion before us. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Okay, we have minutes of boards and commissions.
Placed on file.
Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Advisory Board Rules of Procedure.
Committee of the Whole.
Board of Water and Light Annual Audit for fiscal year ending June 30, 23.
Committee of the Whole and Internal Auditor.
From the mayor, the appointment of Heath Lowry as a Board of Zoning Appeals member.
Committee of the Whole.
Outside legal counsel T. Joseph Stewart to represent the city in Fitzpatrick versus the city of Lansing.
Committee of the Whole.
Sole source purchase, police department request for DJ's Auto Sales as the vendor for the purchase of 2 vehicles.
Ways and Means and Internal Auditor.
Communications and petitions, claim appeal, Belinda Fitzpatrick for $2,820 in red tag monitoring fees.
City Operations.
And a claim appeal, Cora Kelly for $493.40 in board up fees.
City Operations.
We are to motion of excused absence.
Councilmember Garza.
I make a motion to excuse Councilwoman Spitzley.
We have a motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
And we are to remarks by council members.
Councilmember comments. Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you. I just want to speak to the electronic participation in public comment at meetings of council, which would have been the proposed Rule 48 and item 18 on the agenda that was pulled. I just wanted to say that I am, in a way, glad that it was pulled, even though it's unexpected, because I think that there are some things to work on. I've heard directly from the people for many years now what they want, and it's electronic virtual participation where they have a fair chance to speak about the matters. Now, I spoke against some of the terms of the proposed rule when it was first introduced 2 weeks ago, and I just want to reiterate the amendments that I'll bring should it stay the same next year. And it's basically just to strike language in the first paragraph, strike on legislative matters. If you strike that, it would allow public comment on all public comment matters that people who come would be invited to speak on, including legislative matters, including your time at the end, which you are all going to have 3 minutes for. So I would support that because the goal is to encourage participation. And there are some times when people come to a meeting and they don't know they're going to speak until they hear something and it's too late. If that's the logic, these people would not be able to speak unless they knew about it at least 4 hours prior. And I would also strike in the second paragraph, no later than 4 hours prior to the meeting. I would strike that because for the same reason, sometimes people don't know what they want to say, and I think it discourages participation. We want to increase participation and make it as easy as possible for people to be able to participate in city government. So by striking that, it doesn't mean that it can't be 4 hours. It just means that the language below that says that the city clerk does the form and manner determined for participation, and also that the city clerk would establish and maintain procedures and protocols. So the city clerk, I'm sure, would be as least restrictive as possible for people to participate, and that's what I would add or take out, because again, I've heard from the people and I think that it needs to be as easy as possible. So I'm glad that it got pulled, and I know that the Rule 41, which says that a change in the council rules requires it to sit for at least a meeting. So it has sat for now 2 meetings, and we can bring it up, and I will add friendly amendments when the time is, or it just will come different. We've also heard from the people, I think that's what they want. So I am glad that we're moving forward on it, and we are close, but I can't support a version that restricts public comment the way that this version would. Thank you.
Well, just to clarify, Councilmember Jackson, according to our rules, it has to sit for 2 meetings before we can vote on it. So that's why it's that. Okay. With that, any other council member comments? Seeing none.
Comments by the mayor?
Mayor Shore. All right, thank you.
Okay, then we are to public comment on city government related matters. We have quite a lot of speakers this evening. The first speaker is Wendy Shepard, followed by Nicholas Zandy.
My name is Wendy Shepard, and I would like to urge our city council members to recommend to the Senate and House representatives to put pressure on President Biden to continue unconditional financial aid to support Israel against the terrorist organizations Hamas and Hezbollah. They are threatening the stability of the Middle East, the state of Israel, and the world. Israel is America's strongest ally, and we as a nation need to stand behind her. I also want to give my support for the City Rescue Mission that provides a place for women in a day shelter for women. We also, I hear that the warming center is open. I wanted to thank you all for that, and congratulations to the new police officers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Nicholas Zandy, followed by Daniel K. Arnold.
Okay. You've probably heard me speak so many times, but I'll introduce myself again. I'm Nicholas Zandy, and I'm from the Old Everett neighborhood in the 2nd Ward. And first off, I want to get this out of the way. I wholeheartedly disagree with what my predecessor says about Israel. Well, I am not a fan of Hamas. I'll make this extremely clear. Using that as a bit of what I call a scapegoat for causing genocide in Gaza against juveniles, by the way. Just need to throw that out there. And also, they'll probably continue to use that to fully annex the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, and possibly consider an invasion of Lebanon, Jordan, or any other country. I know you're probably going to hear me scaremonger about this, but just want to get this out of the way. No, I do not support you urging them to continue supporting Israel unconditionally. I think that is just wrong on so many levels, and no, I'm not being anti-Semitic about it. But to my main topic, one of the main reasons why I'm running for the City Charter Commission, I am just sick and tired of hearing the city's same antics. What I've seen was the whole delay thing, which another thing that makes me angry is this. The fact that you virtually had no plan to put in place for a warming center fund is just absolutely horrendous and just shows how corrupt and incompetent our city is. And considering the many lawsuits the city's gotten itself involved in, some of which are from the same family, the Lynns, as well as that of Anthony Hulan because of his uncalled for death, is all I'm going to say. It was just seeing what all this is, and the fact that the chamber is seriously buying our elections through the at-large stuff just angers me to no end. And so we need to decentralize our city. We got to get rid of the at-large. We got to consider 8 wards, is what I'm going to say. And I know I'm probably going to go a little over time, so I'm just going to say that's why I'm running. And also, again, elected city attorney is also something I want to advocate for. And that's all I'm going to say, and I shall yield the last 10 or so seconds of my time.
Thank you. Next, we have Danielle K. Arnold, followed by Norma Bauer.
And before we have another speaker, I want to remind people that when you come to the podium, you are speaking to council. You will hear comments from other people in the audience that are making their comments to us. Please remember that you're talking to council, not to the people that have come before you to the podium. I just want to make sure that we are handling this in a civil manner. Thank you. With that, Daniel, it's up to you. Thank you.
Hello, this is Daniel Arnold, Facebook guy Smiley. I just want to feel that everybody around this whole building is a major part of our city, not just the council. With that being said, I want to advocate for CIT. I'm a consumer advocate board member of CIT. They just had their training for de-escalation in mental health crisis. It was just really, really powerful, and about 33 people were trained, and they knew that the firefighters were there, and some social workers, and a lot of police, and it's just, I'm really happy to hear that 17 police officers have been hired. That's just absolutely wonderful, because they're just so strapped and so busy, so running around at LPD, around the Capitol with police a lot, and there's more staffing for Capitol Police, and yes, there's just so much I want to say today. I'll see what I get to, but I know we received a handout regarding the warming centers, and that's an important issue, and I do thank Luna and Kelsey for really caring about all that. And this is for the council members, but this is for the community too, because they're coming out just as much as the council members day after day at the council, just pushing their plea like I do every day, and we're all in this together. I really want to do a shout out to Larry Wallace over here from Fox 47 News. He's been working tirelessly to be a voice for mental health, for homelessness, for the invisible. And I believe that it's not just him, but his whole department of Fox 47 News. Recently, GAPS Outreach had the opportunity to be on the morning blend with me with Fox 47. They did that for free and just brought out food and everything. It's just Fox 47 is serving the community, and all these people are. And so thank you so much, everybody, for everybody working together to make this city better. I do thank City Rescue Mission for their service to 80% of the homeless who are sheltered. And I do really thank every effort of everybody out here everywhere who just wants to make sure that there's shelter, especially in the cold with warming centers. So thank you all for working together. God bless.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next is Norma Bauer, followed by Kelsey Briand.
Okay, I'm Norma Bauer, and Mr. Sandy has already pointed out that the city of Lansing is involved in 15 different lawsuits. One of them is about opioid addictions, so that's good. Otherwise, it seems like a whole lot of them are against the city of Lansing, and somebody who wants to do a deep dive could find out why. Why are there so many that are opposed to the city of Lansing? Maybe that's one reason why the city's Citizens Review Committee was formed, because citizens are not happy. At least 3 of them involve Mike and Erica Lynn, and you can look at court records. You can find out where everything is at. They're open to the public, I believe. So we don't know where the city attorney's office stands on them. That's why it went into closed session. Now the people who are currently here on the city council know what the city attorney's take on it was. I know Mike Lynn to be an EMT, and he was a firefighter, and he was fired, and he does so much good. He and Erica do so much good for the young people and for drivers in Lansing. They do so much through the village, and the like they did driver checkup thing. They do homework help and all kinds of stuff. So it bothers me that a citizen like Mike Lynn is on the outs with the city of Lansing somehow or another. And I think that's why we have a Citizens Review Commission, because the people are not happy with the way things are now. Listening tonight, I might have commented on the Willie Hobbs property because I saw a lot of metal there. And why is it so costly to get rid of things that are metal? Because there's metal recyclers who can make money on that metal. So, I mean, who knows what it's going to be disposed of if he's going to go to court about it and delay things a little bit. But I recycle everything, so I don't understand that. I want to thank the mayor for allowing Carol Wood's phone number to stay the same, because I think you're not going anywhere. And I think that you still have so much to share with the people who'll be on that Citizens Review Board. So keep that phone number active and use it sometimes to maybe call out and share what you think needs to be done. You can't now because you're on city council, but come December 31st, if you stay in Lansing, you got a lot to share. So thanks for everything you've done so far.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Next is Kelsey Brienne, followed by William Lawrence.
Okay, I wasn't sure which mic I was supposed to handle, but hi. So a group of us came together tonight to protest outside about the warming center. I have talked to many of you. I've talked to 311. I've talked to, my job is community organizing, so I have the time to do this. It is incredibly difficult to find specific details on this. So I didn't know until tonight that it actually opens at 9. This information isn't publicly available. So something that I'm very passionate about, and Brian, I appreciate what you said about making those meetings as accessible as possible. It seems like this administration is committed to lack of transparency to keep things cloudy. And I know many of us are very interested in engaging with our city government, but I'm deeply, it took me so much time. And I hate that you have to know the right people at the right time. And it shouldn't be like that. We should be encouraged to engage with our city. And so I'm calling for, I know that the Let's Community Center is not up to code. We might have a place open, but it's not up to code. And I don't believe that we have a very strong plan going forward. I'm open to it, though. If you have something, please let me know. Please don't make us call all over to figure that out. Because people are going to die if a proper warming center is not set up soon. So that's what I'm passionate about, is making sure that we know where these things are. You should not have to be connected in the right way and know the right people. That should be on the front page of our city website. Also, as a former Christian nationalist bigot, I call for a full ceasefire, unequivocally. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is William Lawrence, followed by Kyle Richard.
William Lawrence, 4th Ward resident. Echoing some of Luna's points, what is going on with the warming center? Nobody knows where to get information. Count me as another person who has been unable to get information. We've heard now from the mayor that it's open from 9 p.m. to 7 p.m. If you look at the city website right now, under warming centers, it says Let's Community Center, hours Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. So I guess we'll have to take the mayor's word for it. I'm looking at Detroit Rescue Mission, no information on their website. Council members have not been able to deliver reliable information on this. Staff at Let's Community Center within the last 2 weeks have been unable to deliver any information about this. And other homeless service providers also have been unable to deliver any information about this. They all say, we don't hear anything from the mayor or from his senior team, from HRCS. We find out the news from press releases, just like the rest of you do. And that's what we're hearing all around. So you may not like all of these people, Mr. Mayor. Many of us do not like each other. But are these council members, homeless service providers, city staff, all part of a conspiracy to paint this in a bad light? Or, as seems more likely, is this a deep-seated problem of lack of transparency and, frankly, lack of competency from the mayor's senior staff, as we've seen repeatedly in other events. I wonder if this is a case of deliberately withholding information, or is this a case of just scrambling after you already issued the last press release that you realized wasn't actually a plan that was going to hold up, and now you got to figure out what to do the next thing, and you're trying to cover your ass because you took the money, you didn't know what to do with it. I would really like to know. Additionally, I would like to urge the council to pass a resolution in favor of a ceasefire in Gaza. At this point, the rate of civilian deaths in this bombardment exceeds those perpetrated by Putin in Ukraine. It exceeds the rate of civilian casualties perpetrated by Putin in Grozny, which was called the most destroyed city in the world at that time, in 2004. It exceeds the rate of civilian casualties by Assad in the worst atrocities of the Syrian civil war, or by our own American forces, for that matter, in the worst atrocities we committed in Iraq or Afghanistan. And if we were horrified by these other instances, if we said that these must not be allowed to happen on our watch, then we must also condemn this ethnic cleansing that's taking place in Gaza, perpetrated by Israel, and do so now, not next month, but now, while there's still time to make a difference and save lives. Free Palestine. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And
This is not the time in the agenda for applause.
next is we have Kyle Richard, followed by David Ellis.
Good evening, Kyle Richard, 4th Ward. I'm speaking tonight in favor of a City Council adopting a ceasefire resolution regarding the ongoing genocide in Palestine. I take this stance today as the eldest son of 2 Navy veterans, having had 3 generations of my family participate in the United States military. I take this stance today as a trained social studies educator, though I don't believe it takes a trained eye to see what is in front of us today. 2 weeks ago, I came down in front of this body and I shared a story about a grandfather I never knew, a German boy who stood up at his family's table. But was the moral of the story that he was a German boy taking a firm stance against a German ethno-state? Or was the moral of the story that when you see something wrong in the world, whether it be a genocide, whether it be an ethno-state, whether it be people using language calling themselves the sons of light and their enemies the children of darkness. This is Nazi rhetoric coming out of the state of Israel. When you see that in the world, not only do you have to do something about it, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Not only do you have to say something about it, you have to do something about it. And frankly, Councilman Hussein, you said you were going to comment on this today and you didn't. That's a little frustrating to have that happen. To emphasize my point, though, I brought with me a material example. This is a fridge magnet that I got at the United States Holocaust Museum for $5. What you do matters. What you do matters. Let's take this example one step further. Was that purely symbolic? Or is there power in that I just did that? Was that purely symbolic, or is there power in the proximity to the city seal? Do not relinquish the little power you have. And that goes to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, this is not the time for applause. If you want to stay in the chamber, you will remember that. Otherwise, you'll be asked to leave.
Next is David Ellis, followed by Luna Brown.
Hi, David Ellis, downtown resident. I just wanted to briefly comment on the warming shelter at Let's Community Center. I'm gonna start off with a positive opinion I have on this warming shelter. I do a lot of, I've spoken many times before on this, I do a lot of advocacy with things like bike lanes and such in the city, and I'm always troubled by the incredible slow pace it takes to get even the smallest of actions done. I like how quickly we were able to get something together. I like the urgency, the idea behind it. But speed does not mean rushing. Let's Community Center might in the future be a great location for a warming shelter, but I do have issues with how when it was first opened, it was announced, I had seen that it was a family shelter at first, and then immediately they had to change it back to being just a warming shelter due to either, I had seen online either that it was because of potential lawsuits against how many people it could restrict being allowed into it, or because of the fire suppression system. And then as other people have mentioned, that there's the issues of there's nowhere online that openly really says the hours about it, the accessibility to it. Council members didn't even know if it was open today or not. Ultimately, I'm glad that there's action being taken. I'm glad that there is this sense of urgency and this feeling that we have to move forward with getting something to the ground in time for this winter. But we need to have a much stronger plan. The city used to actually plan tons and tons of things. It was 1958 was the last year that the city had a full comprehensive city plan where it detailed everything from we need schools within this relationship to neighborhoods, we need parks within this areas. We had such like an ability to think ahead so that when it came to these times where we wanted to move quickly, we could move quickly and put something on the ground in a way that made sense because we had already put in the homework of figuring out when we want to go ahead and rush to do these things, what will we need for it? We need to figure out these procedural things so that we are able to make emergency shelters. If we go over capacity, we can quickly bring resources to people in need. This could have been handled better. I'm glad to see that something happened, but let's make sure that in the future it's a much better handled process than this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Luna Brown and then Loretta Stanaway.
And again, Luna, if you could just wait just a second. The reason that we tell people that applause is not appropriate at this time is because we want anyone who wants to come to the dais to feel welcome. When there's applause or boos or cheers, it might make someone who has a differing opinion feel uncomfortable or unwelcomed at the dais. Thank you. Thank you, Luna, for waiting.
A few things to speak about. First up is the warming center again. Again, we've seen some positive changes in the planning and opening it from a family to an all single adults warming center. But there's still numerous problems that aren't being addressed. And there seems to be no communication whatsoever between the city administration, HRCS, Kim Coleman. None of them are actually talking to the staff at Let's. They have no clue what's going on. They're finding out through press reports what's going on, just like us. And that's like ridiculous, you know, to hear from like a community center that's about to host this warming shelter that they don't even know what's going on, you know? Aside from that, I think, yes, the city council should take a stance and make a statement about a ceasefire in Palestine. We can't sit by and watch genocide take place while our own government is supporting said genocide. And I think the council should take a stance against it. Aside from that, the City Rescue Mission continues to discriminate. I think it'd be an excellent opportunity also to write a resolution condemning their discrimination and their harassment of minority groups, especially religious minorities, LGBTQ people, as well as even just straight men who can't get the same treatment a woman gets in terms of actually being assigned a caseworker, since they offered less caseworkers to less than 7% of the males that stayed there last year. You know, we need to do something as a city about the shelter problem in general. We need city shelters, not just religious organizations. And we definitely need to be hitting up the county level government on this as well, because we can't sit by and take on all the costs, obviously, ourselves, when every other neighboring community, whenever someone becomes homeless, they just get shipped to Lansing. So we need to do something to get these other communities paying for their homeless residents who end up here. Yeah, but again, condemn the city rescue mission until they actually modernize and stop treating certain people like crap and forcing religion down their throat as a part of just getting basic necessities to survive. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Loretta Stanaway, followed by Nathan Hallman.
Okay, on the warming shelter, as I've said before, I'm glad to see progress, but it's not enough, and it's not the right progress. We need 4 shelters, 1 in each ward, or at least, since Ward 2 doesn't have a community center, use Foster for that section of the city. I had made a call today to the Caddis office to see from my house at 546 Armstrong what it would take to get by bus to the Let's Community Center. And I was told I would need to walk 4 minutes to the first bus stop by my house, take an hour-long bus ride with 1 transfer at the downtown station into the second bus, get dropped off at 5 to 9 outside of the last stop there on MLK at Kalamazoo, and then walk 4 minutes to the shelter. So it would take over an hour and at least 8 minutes, outdoors walking, and $1.25 one way. So for a person who was going to stay for a night and then leave and go back to whatever their home territory was, you're talking 2 hours in transit, you're talking $2.50, you're talking 16 minutes out in the cold. And for a lot of people, that is just not doable. It doesn't even address the homeless that are seniors or disabled. And as has already been mentioned, there's the question of transparency and information. We have not done a good job at all of informing even the most informed citizens, let alone the least. There should be in process a way to make this information about the opening of the shelter available to those that are likely to need it. There should be people going around to the homeless encampments with the information. There should be information going to the embedded social workers and to police and fire so that when they encounter the homeless, they have the correct and accurate, up-to-date information. And as already has been mentioned, we need to stop accepting everyone in the communities around us saying they don't want a homeless shelter in their backyard and shoving their homeless off on us. There should be some way to have a residency requirement or some kind of proof of residency, such as there is among homeless, that they are at least in the Tri-County area and at least not being shipped in from Battle Creek and Timbuktu, which I hear is what is happening. So we need to take care of our own, but we need to also encourage other communities to do the same, and we need to make this information available to those that need it, and we need a better system in place for transporting people to the shelters. We need 4 shelters. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Nathan Hallman, followed by William.
Hello, I'm Nathan Hallman. I'm here to also highlight some issues with the Lex Warming Center. Like the other folks said, a lot of this information is really hard to find, so I'm mostly going off of the information from the press releases, which honestly by itself was pretty concerning. The first thing I thought was really odd was that there's no cots allowed in the shelter, even though it's operated from 7 p.m. or 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. The city's spokesperson, Scott Bean, was quoted in a press release, says, "We can't allow people to lay down and sleep under the law. No beds or cots, we are only allowed chairs." So I don't really understand how that works, if they're allowed to sleep in the chairs, or if they're gonna, like, I don't know, yell at people for sleeping in chairs. It's kind of weird. I I mean, I sleep from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. generally, and I don't understand like how we expect people to get like jobs if they're kind of forced to be nocturnal and not sleep in a warming center in the middle of the night. Another issue is that the lack of proper fire suppression system was referenced as a reason for why the shelter was moved from being only for adults to only for families, which seems really odd to me because if there's not a proper fire suppression system, why are we allowing anybody there? Kind of seems like you're implicitly saying it's okay if adults burn if there's a fire. I mean, I don't know, it seemed really odd. Another issue is that the shelter is only going to house 75 people with $800,000. And I saw in one of the news articles, Mike Carl, who's a well-known advocate around here, said he was able to run a hotel with 124 rooms for $90,000 a year. So I'm just kind of curious how that $800,000 is being used. I guess, those are some of the issues I see. Also, it's going to be run by the Detroit Rescue Mission, and as we've said multiple times, we're not really comfortable with faith-based organizations running these kinds of shelters because they have a history of discriminating against LGBT people, and so they don't really have a lot of trust in a lot of our eyes. Finally, I've lived downtown for 8 years, and I read the Detroit Free Press article, and I thought it was funny, so I don't think it was that big of a deal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is William, followed by Frederick McLaughlin, maybe?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to address the issue of virtual meetings and virtual participation. As I walk down this sloped area, for some reason I can just see a wheelchair crashing through these gates. Or is City Council meant to be inaccessible by the handicapped? I'll let you think about that. We had a president who was also in a wheelchair, but I won't even mention that because that's kind of a secret. But in any case, I'm sitting here hearing stuff about the warming shelter. Number one, some people have thanked the council for their speed, but for some reason I remember this issue being an issue back last April. In addition to that, everybody knows winter's coming in Michigan. This is something everybody should be prepared for. Then the major question becomes, what reduction in people dying or having frostbite is this going to present? I hear people talk about it's for adults, not for families. Okay, no problem. Let the future generation, the children, die in the cold while we preserve the adults. Or am I saying that? Or are you thinking that? For surely that's forbidden. It's time that we start looking at this issue on a city-wide basis. I grew up on the west side. I live on the west side. I've got a ton of pictures on this camera of the homeless, and most of them are not on the west side, strangely as it may seem. I got camps, I got tents, I got people all over this city, but most are not on the west side. We need multiple warming centers. We need to be active. We need to be real about this. This is not an issue that needs a Band-Aid. It needs correction. We have a city council, theoretically, in one of the most productive cities in this state. Let us take this bull by the horn. Let us go ahead and have sincerity to the issues that we're speaking of. We're putting a lot of money out there so we can boast of the money we put out there. Let us boast. Let us cheer. Let us take honor in the corrections we have implemented. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Frederick McLaughlin, followed by Jessica Saba.
Hello, my name is Frederick McLaughlin. I live in the 3rd Ward, and I also wanted to thank Councilmember Wood for all of her years of service to the city. It's been not only an excellent example of and for members of council, but also a good reminder of citizenry. What I mean by that is it's not enough just that you represent us. There are many ways in which you can get information from us, but we need to come to you as well. Voting is the easy part of citizenship. The harder part, that's just the tip of the iceberg. The harder part is for citizens to either show up or in some manner get in touch, stay informed with what goes on in this chamber, whether we're here or not. And your example on council has been an excellent example of what my responsibility as a citizen, and I've not been particularly good at it. One thing I did want to say tonight is that as a full-time bicycle commuter for essentially the last 50 years, well, not full-time, I'd say full-time the last 15 years or so, I really appreciate the bicycle system in the city. It's not just recreation for me. Sure, I enjoy it. About 15, 20 years ago, my last car went down. I got rid of it. I said, I'm not going to buy another one. I knew the benefits of bicycling, and I knew the city's effort at having created paths to go from here to there And if you wonder how much I do this or where I do this, my hometown's in Vermontville. I go to the Surf Festival there. I go to Charlotte, where I went to high school. Anything that any of you do in your cars in the metropolitan area, whether it's Okemos or out to Grand Ledge or north into St. John's or south into Charlotte. My optometrist is intentionally in Charlotte, so I have to bicycle there. My bicycle shop asked me one time, he said, let's figure out how many miles you're doing every year, Fred. This has got to be a lot. And I described a typical day for him. And he said, you're bicycling about 7,500 miles in a year. Apparently that's an average year for you. And I just continue to do that. I'll be turning 77 in May of this coming year. I'm still feeling good. I still feel like I could actually follow up on my citizen responsibility, and I hope to do so with my architect's license in connection with affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jessica Saba, followed by Leah Fitch.
Hi, everyone. I also just wanted to.
Ma'am, if you could pull that down. Then
Is that better?
That's better.
Thank you. Also just wanted to share my concern about the warming shelters not being accessible to people in my community. I spoke last council meeting about my experience being detained, interrogated, and denied entry into the occupied Palestinian West Bank by Israel simply because I married a Palestinian man. And I again wanted to bring attention to the fact that Israel is perpetrating genocide, still perpetrating genocide, against the Palestinian people of Gaza, and here to ask the City Council to pass a resolution supporting a call for a lasting and permanent ceasefire and an end to U.S. military funding to Israel. I also wanted to take the opportunity to share a poem by a Palestinian poet, Dr. Rifat al-Arir. It's titled, If I Must Die. If I must die, you must live to tell my story, to sell my things, to buy a piece of cloth and some strings, make it white with a long tail, so that a child somewhere in Gaza, while looking heaven in the eye, awaiting his dad who left in a blaze, and bid no one farewell, not even in his flesh, not even to himself, sees the kite, my kite you made, flying up above, and thinks for a moment an angel is there, bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope, let it be a tale. Rifat was murdered, assassinated in a target attack 4 days ago with his family, including 3 children. Since I have a little bit more time left, I also wanted to share a little bit from one of his close friends who wrote a dedication to him, just because so many, after you, pass 1,000 lives, I'm not sure, at some point it just becomes numbers. So just to kind of hear a little bit about a person. So what can you say about someone like Rifat Al-Arir? I've known Rafat since I was 10. I am now 33. To describe him as a genius is an understatement. He was a source of many ideas. He was so humane. Anyone who knew him knows that he was a very solid man, steadfast in unimaginable ways. The day before he was killed, he surprised me by telling me he felt tired. I'm tired of carrying water. I'm tired. I'm responsible for 50 people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Leah Fitch, followed by Peter Fowler.
Hello. I'll make it short. I want to reinforce some of the things that have already been said, mainly about the warming centers. I don't know as much about the situation as other people here tonight, but as a Lansing resident, I don't see how it's not the responsibility collectively to make sure that people don't die in the cold in the winter. So I would like to understand more, as a person who doesn't understand, why we don't do that. And what we can do collectively to make sure that people are cared for and get their basic needs met. I would also like to urge the council to pass a resolution in favor of a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. We're witnessing a genocide. I think the emotional message that we just heard is better than anything that I could say about numbers. We're in a time where we can't just sit by and let nothing happen. You're either in favor of genocide by doing nothing, when all of our tax dollars go to funding violence and the death of children and adults and innocent folks, or you speak out against it and you do something against it. I would also like to say, as a Lansing resident, I am not proud that we have 17 new police officers. Especially given that many community leaders have been calling for defunding of the police for years. And we've seen no movement towards shifting money away from police who are not trained for many of the problems that they are sent out to do, and shifting that money into community programs, many of which already exist and could be expanded in order to keep our people actually safe. And give them the supports that they need. And I'll cede the rest of my time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Peter Fowler, followed by Samuel Burton.
Greetings, Council. My name is Peter Fowler. I spoke at the last meeting on behalf of the Board of the Bat Association in support of a ceasefire resolution. But today, I'm here as a constituent, a resident of the 4th Ward, and a veterinarian who took an oath to work towards the betterment of society and the promotion of public health. In the past 2 weeks since the last meeting, Israel has taken the lives of more than 3,000 Palestinians, bringing the death toll in Gaza to over 18,000 people. Instead of working to end this violence, our administration is actively obstructing any pathway towards peace. On Friday, the United States once again blocked a UN security resolution calling for a ceasefire, and Congress subsequently approved the sale of 14,000 rounds of tank ammunitions to Israel to continue what I think we can all recognize at this point as genocide. This should come as no surprise when you realize that defense contractors have more people lobbying Congress right now than there are representatives. We've done everything in our power to demand a ceasefire. We've marched, we've written our representatives, we've held sit-ins. Nobody is listening. We are now asking Lansing City Council to amplify these calls to help save lives right now. This doesn't have to be complicated. We already have a resolution drafted. All you have to do is support. City Council adding their voices to this call matters. And having this discussion can lend a lot of insight to Lansing's voters and to the kind of people representing them. I'd also like to share concern about the warming center. I appreciate the energy some of council has put into trying to determine how the mayor was able to accomplish basically nothing to help the homeless population survive another brutal Michigan winter with a budget of what I think was close to $1 million. And based on the gentrification projects I see around town, I can guess that Shore cares about as much for Lansing's homeless population as Congress does for Palestinians in Gaza right now. I hope we can get rid of politicians at every level that are okay with dehumanizing entire populations for the sake of profit. I yield my time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next is Samuel Burton, followed by Sarah Hopkins.
Hello. I want to begin by echoing the calls for a proper warming center and speak to an issue that similarly is a matter of life and death for some of the most vulnerable, and something that might seem at first easier to look away from or somebody else's problem, but concerns your constituents and their loved ones. As said, 18,000 people have been murdered by Israel's genocidal collective punishment of Palestinians in Gaza, including over 6,000 children. Those numbers, by the time City Council next convenes in the new year, will be several thousand higher in absence of a permanent ceasefire. With an end to the support the United States provides to the apartheid state of Israel, without which it could not prosecute its war, and as well as a lifting of the blockade on Gaza, without which, without the lifting of that blockade, Gazans will, and the right to return of Gazans to return to their Palestinians in Gaza to return to their homes, they will be left to die by another means of starvation or exposure. Lansing City Council, in representing their constituents, has a duty to speak up and speak out about this issue, call for adopt such a ceasefire resolution, and do it with the urgency that the situation warrants. I don't have Comrade Kyle's same flair for props, but
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next is Sarah Hopkins, followed by Noel Williams.
Hello, everyone. First, I would like to share support for the fight for multiple warming centers and to address this issue thoughtfully to consider human life here in our community. But I'm here tonight with several others asking the city of Lansing to pass a resolution calling for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. Last month, the city of Detroit passed a ceasefire resolution, and I think Lansing should follow in their footsteps. Sometimes we might not speak up on issues because we think we don't know enough, that what we have to say doesn't matter, that it's not in our purview. But all of that shouldn't stop us from standing up against what has been happening to the people of Palestine, because it is not only wrong, it is evil. What we are all witnessing here is genocide. Some of us may have first learned about genocide in history class, but we're not in history class. These are current events. History is being written right before our eyes, and we are all active participants. If we haven't already, we all need to ask ourselves, what side of history do we want to be on? Will we choose to stand up for what is right? Like the other speakers here tonight, I came up here to take a stand and speak out about something I believe in. We chose to be active participants in the history that is being written right here in this room. So for those of you who fear this resolution is symbolic, it is no more symbolic than each person here using their voice to try to create change. There is nothing symbolic about taking a stand and showing solidarity for those who need our support. Words have power. Use your voices to stand up for humanity. So again, I urge you all to stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people and pass a ceasefire resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Noelle Williams, followed by Sarah.
Hello, Council. I am speaking here tonight, as many others are, to talk about the ongoing genocide in hopes that you, City Council, will help pass a resolution for a permanent ceasefire. Israel's regime of apartheid and occupation is inextricably bound up in human rights violations. Palestinians strive to end this regime, and that is the only way forward to a future in which human rights, democracy, liberty, and equality are ensured to all Palestinians living between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea. This genocide has been going on for way too long, and it is unacceptable that the human lives are being indiscriminately bombed. The U.S. veto that just occurred endangers all people in the whole world. No nation or country is above the law. We are witnessing all war crimes and crimes against humanity unfolding right before our eyes. How can we feel safe in this world? Today, Gaza, and tomorrow can be any country that has a valuable resource. Where is our humanity? We can't be silent anymore. I truly hope that the United Nations uses their power and duty to invoke Resolution Article 377 for the safety of humanity for our next generation. The current government of the U.S. does not represent us as Americans, as we can clearly see. We want a permanent ceasefire. We want humanitarian help to reach all Palestinians in Gaza, West Bank, and the ones displaced as of yesterday. Thank you for your time. You do have the power to change this. Please make a stance against this crisis. And today I have been hearing a lot about the warming shelter concerns here tonight, and I do believe that there could be a better system in place for everyone about these warming shelters if our taxes that we pay in the U.S. didn't fund a genocide. Just a thought. We want a permanent ceasefire now. Free Palestine.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Sarah, followed by Lucas Az.
Hello, Council. I think I would like to start by echoing sentiments around the warming center. I'm not sure if any of you here have ever been to the funeral of a homeless neighbor in our community, but they die every year, and they are missed. And I really hope that we can do better to prevent that from happening again here this year. I would lean on the folks who've spoken who know much more than I as well. So I'll move on to the second point here, which is Councilman Wood, thank you for your time here. I wish you peace and rest as you step away. But before you do, I wish more that you take this moment and opportunity to end your legacy here on council with courage and heart and lead your fellow council people to do the right thing when it comes to using the power that you do have and not shirking and shying away from it. I come to you as the daughter of an immigrant who at the age of 12 experienced a violent coup and dictatorship for another 12 years. Because in no small part, because of the interventionism of the US military complex that we have here. It's the American war machine that has really caused like the trauma that my mother still experiences that causes her to wait 50 years later, still with nightmares. The traumas that children in Gaza who survive will change them forever. And it's unfortunate for those who will never stand up again, who will never speak, laugh, or smile again, those who are gone forever. I can promise you that my people who died, my family members and our friends who are no longer there, who we mourn every year, even 50 years after the fact, would have felt solidarity from even the city of Lansing's council. I promise you that this is not symbolic. I promise you that these deaths are real. I promise you that the violence of the American war machine has a tangible impact. My people can't be helped. Those that are gone forever. Many of them have rotted away underneath the waves of the Pacific Ocean. Their skeletons lost to the sea. There's still time. You're not done with this meeting. You can still call a resolution. And I really urge you to. With or without you, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, we have Lucas as.
Hi. My name is Lucas, and I want to start by saying Lansing needs warming centers. With almost a $250 million budget annually, there needs to be an effective and well-coordinated number of warming centers for our community. I'm speaking now to ask the City Council to stand in solidarity with Palestinians and advocate for a permanent ceasefire to stop the genocide by urging our federal representatives and President Biden to support a permanent ceasefire and end all U.S. military funding to Israel. I also wanted to share that, as I shared last time, Oxfam has said that Israel is using starvation as a weapon of war. Israel has been using numerous weapons that go against international law. Thousands of children have been killed so far. Thousands. And as they mentioned, more than 18,000 people in total. And thousands more lay under the rubble, waiting for help. There is no help yet. There's no fuel. There's no way to save the people. So it is our responsibility to take action, especially when $1.8 million of Lansing City taxpayer money goes to Israel in military funding. We are funding this genocide. $89 million of Michigan taxpayer money goes to fund the Israeli military. Excuse me. I want to read some quotes from Palestinians in Gaza who may or may not be alive. If I die, Remember that we were individuals, humans. We had names, dreams, and achievements, and our only fault was that we were classified as inferior. Bilal al-Dabbour. What scares me the most is the thought of my death as a number among the numbers that increase every minute. I am not a number. It took me 23 years to become the person you see now. I have a home, friends, memory, and pain. Shahrazad. Before we are even born, we are killed. Dr. Fadel Naim. I cleaned the house, wiped away the dust and smell of the shelling next door, hoping that death would not find any trace of it in our house and would miss us. Donya. Thank you.
Thank you. That was our final speaker.
And I just want to remind people that the next council meeting won't be until January 3rd, and that will be the leadership, first leadership meeting for the year. Again, I want to thank everyone here for allowing me to serve, and as I put the gavel, we are adjourned. Thank you.